The future of the Internet. Smartphones that can torture or kill humans, called electronic torture. The patent that readers should analyze, and directly relates to this killer smartphone is patent number 12/471382, entitled, Practical Time Machine Using Dynamic Efficient Virtual and Real Robots. Approximately 22 total patent applications were filed with the USPTO on this invention from 2006 to 2009, priority. There are many applications to this technology. Unfortunately, bad things can be created. This is partly why I am disclosing this information to the public at large. There are primarily 5 components that make up my practical time machine. The reader should have a basic understanding of the invention in terms of components, data structure, and processes. Components to the practical time machine, comprising 1. Human-level artificial intelligence. 2. Super-intelligent robot. 3. Atom manipulator. 4. Digital timeline of Earth that tracks every atom, electron, and EM radiation for the past, present, and future. 5. Virtual United States government system. There are many applications to this technology. I can use the components of my practical time machine to create a smartphone that can torture or kill humans from a distance. There are 3 components to this future smartphone. The super-intelligent robots is the central intelligence of the invention. They use the perfect timeline of Earth to track and understand the behaviors of atoms. Next, the super-intelligent robots uses the atom manipulator to manipulate objects in the real world. Before I explain the future smartphone, let me give a detailed description of the atom manipulator. Diagram 4a depicts the atom manipulator. It has the ability to control atoms or molecules from a distance using EM radiation, such as microwaves, sound waves, X-rays, artificial magnetic fields, etc. The supercomputer is controlling the atom manipulator to generate something called intelligent pressure. In addition, the supercomputer uses a perfect digital timeline of Earth. This timeline tracks every atom on planet Earth for the past, present, and future, every nanosecond. The abilities of the atom manipulator is to generate intelligent pressure to move atoms around, trap atoms in a fixed location, apply energy to break apart molecules, or merge atoms together to form complex molecules. With these abilities, it can build any type of ghost machine to do work. A ghost machine is a non-physical machine that can do anything a physical machine can do. Here is a ghost machine to turn a bottle cap. Intelligent pressure is used to hold the bottle in place so it doesn't move. Next, intelligent pressure is applied to the cap in a counterclockwise manner. This will screw the cap off the bottle. Different types of molecules or force fields can be created from thin air to form any shape or size tools to do work. The key here is to create structured force fields to replace physical tools. The elemental actions are the hold, grip, push, twist, and pull. The supercomputer has to do these elemental actions according to the limited space available. If a goal is to screw a nail, a ghost machine has to do this according to the empty space available. An intelligent force field is created and it can come in different sizes and shapes. This force field can perform the following actions: hold, grip, push, twist and pull the nail. The ghost machine can also cut a board in half. It uses lasers to break apart individual molecules in specific areas. An alternative is to build a knife out of metal particles and use intelligent pressure to move the blade. The opposite is true, whereby 2 separate boards are molecularly combined. With these elemental actions the ghost machines can do anything. Let's look at a very complex example. This diagram shows thousands of ghost machines generated by the computer to assemble a car in the fastest time possible. Each ghost machine do different things. Some machines screw caps on and others combine metal frames together. From start to finish, the atom manipulator can assemble a car in less than 3 minutes. The supercomputer is responsible for the intelligence and coordination of each ghost machine. A faster way to assemble a car is to build the car at an atomic level. The atom manipulator is building the car, atom by atom, by moving atoms around, merging atoms together to form complex molecules, or positioning atoms in a fixed location. This process takes less than 10 seconds to build a car. Ghost machines can come in different sizes and shapes. It can manipulate large objects like a building or small objects like a water molecule. The ultimate goal for the ghost machines is to manipulate individual atoms and molecules. One example is ripping a person apart atom by atom and putting all the pieces back together again. If this technique is perfected, the human race needn't worry about old age or death. The torture and killing smartphone. Referring to Fig 22b, a human is controlling a smartphone that can torture or kill people remotely. A terrorist can put this atom manipulator in his backpack, go to a political event, and kill a politician using a user-friendly app on his smartphone. I call this technology the torture device. This machine uses a range of EM radiation to spy and manipulate objects from a distance. Although this electronic device has many applications, this report will only cover humans as targets. Its capabilities include causing living organisms, like humans, nerve pain, anywhere on the body, internally or externally, muscle pain, destructive laser burns, with controlled intensity that goes from minor to major, causing bloating or intestinal gas. This is done by heating the food content in the intestines, burning or itching anywhere on the body. Artificial heart attacks or strokes, instant unconsciousness, mind reading, manipulation of thoughts and voices in the head, applying pressure to internal organs, and any artificial health-related symptom. This device uses the latest in artificial intelligence to torture people, to track them, and to find a means of delivering pain based on instructions from the user. The user is controlling the torture device through an electronic device such as a smartphone or laptop computer. The internet is used to communicate with this torture device. The spying on this technology uses EM radiation such as sonar or microwaves to map out the environment. In the case of a human subject, the technology can map out, not only what it can see on the surface, but internal organs as well. The spine is so precise that individual veins are identified and tracked. The torture device can track individual veins and cause pain no matter where the human is located or how hard he or she tries to block the signals. A human subject can try to protect itself by using tinfoil or solid metal walls, but the torture device will simply switch to other forms of EM radiation to go around metal, such as sound waves or sonar. It might be possible to bend the properties of microwaves so that it can go around objects. The spine is so precise that the human brain can be read in terms of internal thoughts. The visual images and voices in the brain can be read through bursts of energy coming from the brain. A form of machine learning or artificial intelligence is applied to this data to map out the internal thoughts of a human subject. Since this thing can read minds, it can also manipulate a human subject by inserting voices in its head or to manipulate brain activities to do what the user wants. It also acts as a surveillance camera that spies on things and compile a summary of activities or events that took place during the day. The user can harass the human subject by pre-programming instructions into the torture device, such as putting an uncomfortable feeling on his left shoulder for 10 hours straight at intervals of every 5 seconds. This means the person being tortured will feel someone either scratching or applying pressure to her left shoulder every 5 seconds for 10 hours straight. The human subject will notice that this pain only applies if he or she is stationed in the house, given that the torture device is hidden somewhere in the house. If the human subject leaves the house, about 60 feet or more, the pain stops or the pain has substantially decreased. This is because the torture device can only work within a range of 40–50 feet. If the torture device is located on a satellite high above the Earth's stratosphere, the subject will be tortured for 10 hours straight, and no matter what he or she does, the pain will always be there. This device comes in different sizes and shapes. A small torture device can only work on targets that are in close proximity, usually 40–50 feet, although this range can increase, and the device can decrease in size. A larger model can be added to an orbiting satellite so that any living organism on Earth can be a potential target. Furthermore, with the help of supercomputers, all happenings on Earth can be privately extracted. The smartphone has user-friendly interface functions to control the torture device. Said user-friendly interface functions include controlling the intensity of the pain, the types of pain that can be inflicted, and pre-programmed instructions to torture or kill people. This torture device can also control insects and animals. For example, EM radiation can be sent out to insects to elicit an action, like walking a certain path or biting a person on a specific area. Multiple insects or animals can be controlled at the same time using the artificial intelligence to accomplish a user task. These commands include things like controlling 30 roaches to converge on a person and bite his left leg, or 30 roaches picking up a box and carrying it to the table. This torture device is one of the world's worst weapons. This thing spies on all objects on Earth, and it can manipulate all objects on Earth. If this technology falls into the wrong hands, like a dictator or corrupted government, this can pose a great danger to freedom, democracy, and security. Despite the fact that this technology is dangerous, it's also the next evolution of the Internet. Up to this point, no one can kill or physically harm people over the Internet. This torture device changes all that. The stuff that people talk about over the Internet, like electronic harassment or torture, isn't too far from the truth. In fact, it's worse than that. With the advancement of technology, this torture device will be a nightmare reality soon. This subject matter was talked about in science fiction novels and comic books since the 60s. Now humanity have the means of building this technology. It's a matter of time before someone actually does. This is a very dangerous technology, and one day, soon, there will be a national debate about laws that should be put in place to protect people's physical body. $5 virtual reality technology. The Atom Manipulator applied to virtual reality and virtual video games. Current virtual reality technology doesn't allow a player to experience touch, taste, or smell in a virtual environment. Referring to diagram 22A, when you're playing a game like Call of Duty, the developers want to engage all 5 senses for the player. Currently, VR only deals with sight and sound. It would be infinitely better if the experience not only includes sight and sound, but the other missing senses as well, like taste, touch, and smell. This problem can be solved by using my Atom Manipulator to generate sensations for the 3 senses, taste, touch, and smell. Touch sense. There are 2 ways to generate realistic touch sensations. One way is to use the Atom Manipulator to generate intelligent pressure to push a player's body parts and skin. For example, if the video game environment is a snowstorm and wind is blowing in front of the player, the Atom Manipulator has to generate enough force to push against the player's skin to give a sensation of actual wind. Another way to generate realistic touch sensations is to mess with the nerve veins of the player and provide a consistent pressure on the nerves. Physically, the player, human, is not being touched, only his nerve endings are being stimulated, and that gives the illusion of being touched. The machine has to track all molecules on the player's body and precisely identify internal nerves and muscles. Using a form of EM radiation, like microwaves or sound waves, the nerves can be stimulated. The second method is better than the first because the player can be stationary and sitting comfortably on a chair while playing the video game. Even the problem about VR sickness, where the ear's equilibrium is unbalanced, can be solved using the second method. The atom manipulator can physically control internal parts of the ears and make the organs work so that motion sickness is non-existing. Furthermore, the atom manipulator can use both method 1 and method 2 to trick the player's mind into thinking he is being touched on any part of his body, internally or externally. As far as things like being shot or being hit by King Kong is concerned, the virtual pain can be manageable and it doesn't have to be a death thing. The user have access to user-friendly apps that can control the degree of pain while playing a game. For games like Call of Duty, a bomb explosion is like a fan pushing on the player's body, or a shot can be a tap on his back. Some people prefer something more painful, but that's up to the player's preferences. Smell. This one is easy. The atom manipulator has an atom reserves area, comprising individual atoms, oxygen, helium, hydrogen, etc. It has to combine these atoms into complex smell molecules and move them to the player's nose. So, the smell is actually real. The atom manipulator is able to create different smells according to a game, and move these gases to the player's nose. If the scene is a pizza restaurant, the smell of cooking and pizza will be what the player smells. If the scene is a person farting in front of the player, then fart, gases like methane and sulfur, will be generated by the atom manipulator. If the player was in a crowded city like Hong Kong, the smell of diesel fuel and pollution will be in the air. Taste. This one is kind of hard to emulate because if the player is eating a solid food like an apple, the food has to travel down his throat and into his stomach. An alternative is to generate liquid fluids that taste like the real thing. For example, if the robot is eating an apple, the atom manipulator will create intelligent pressure inside the player's mouth to give the impression like he's biting on a real solid apple. Next, a liquid is created in front of the player's tongue of apple cider. Then, the atom manipulator has to do things to the throat and stomach to give the impression that food is going down his throat. The atom manipulator can use either method 1 or method 2 from the touch sense to accomplish this. The apple cider is made by taking hydrogen and oxygen atoms from the atom's reserve area and combining them together to form water. Next, it will create apple molecules and mix that in with the water. Thus, the atom manipulator is creating a physical taste in the player's mouth. Simultaneously, the intelligent pressure created in the player's mouth is just to give the illusion like the teeth is biting on a physical apple. An intelligent force field is generated in the player's mouth and his teeth is being pushed up and down. When the player swallows the food, intelligent pressure is put on the throat and stomach to give the impression that food is being swallowed. The second method is to use the atom manipulator to stimulate taste buds and taste sensations. No liquid is created from thin air and teleported inside the player's mouth. Only the taste senses are stimulated by microwaves or sound waves to give the impression of tasting food. I'm not familiar with the mechanics of how the tongue tastes food, but the atom manipulator has to emulate the same processes on the player, whether it's chemical reactions or electrical stimulation. Conclusion. Now, a more updated version of the VR technology would exclude the visor and earplugs. The atom manipulator can replace the visor with streaming light into the player's eyes. It can also create intelligent pressure to move the air in the player's ears. Thus, the sound and sight of the player can be experienced without the bulky headgears. If you carefully analyze this VR technology, it is actually a device that can control a human for all 5 senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. I often call this thing the torture device because it can torture people and kill, if it wanted to. It can give you a heart attack, or make you burp, or burn your skin off. This VR technology is very important and has the potential to make a lot of money. It can give a human a virtual experience that is so real that the brain won't know the difference between a virtual experience and the real experience. Imagine what this technology will do to the porn industry? Just a thought. An easier way to trick the 5 senses is by directly controlling the human brain's 5 sense signals. The atom manipulator must track and identify the veins that connect the five senses to the brain. Once those veins are identified, the AI will reproduce the same signals of real-life experiences into the player's brain, artificially. The brain is just electrical signals zipping back and forth like a highway system. If the atom manipulator can identify the veins that sends electrical signals to the brain on sensing taste, then it can artificially produce the same signals as if the brain was receiving signals from the mouth. The atom manipulator is directly controlling all aspects of the brain in terms of organ functions, mental thoughts, and electrical signals. In order to do that, the artificial intelligence has to map out the brain, atom by atom, and to understand all aspects of its functionality so that the machine can use a range of EM radiation to manipulate it. I call this total mind control. Some people might ask, what's the difference between your 5-sense virtual reality technology and the technology presented in the Matrix movies? Referring to Figure 34b, the Matrix movie uses a bulky machine, connected to a human brain, to generate a realistic virtual experience. My invention is an external device, that is not connected to a human brain, and uses a range of EM radiation to give the human subject a realistic virtual experience. However, both technologies basically do the same things, to give a person a realistic virtual experience through all 5 senses. The artificial experience is so real that the human subject won't know the difference between what they experience in the virtual world and the real world.